So, if you are an online coach or consultant and you're looking to start your business this year in 2026, or you're looking to grow your business, you need to stop. Don't post another piece of content, right? Don't send another DM. Don't build another funnel until you're going to watch this video until the end, because here is the reality: 90% of coaches and consultants are going to fail before they even start promoting their offer. And by the way, it has nothing to do with their skills, it has nothing to do with their content or their offer. It has absolutely nothing to do with those things. But it has everything to do with one decision that they've actually made month one that's going to impact their business and that quietly kills their business from day one, right? Like literally. So in this video, I'm going to tell you what that one decision is and why is it so important. And I'm also going to give you a very simple 4-step test that you can take to make sure that you're going to make the right decision. So with that being said, let's get started. Now, I've put together a cute little presentation right here. It's a slide deck type of thing, but there's nothing to buy at the end of this video, so I'm not selling anything, just so you know, because I know like typically when people are selling something, they're using like slide decks, but this is nothing to sell, right? So I have nothing to sell you. It's just from my experience and a little bit of context about me. So why the heck should you listen to me? Well, I'm the founder of Zeta Media, a company that helps coaches and consultants to get more clients and grow their business. So I'm not talking about theory right here. Like, I'm just telling you this from my experience after having worked with over 250 coaches and consultants at this point. So we serve a lot of clients. So this is exactly what I see right now in 2026 by being in the trenches. So it's not something that I've read somewhere. It's something that I've built based on our own experience. So with that being said, let's get started. I'm just gonna zoom in here. Okay, so of course, don't start a coaching business until you actually watch this video. So that's the reality. As I said, 90% of coaches fail before they even try to promote their offer in their business, right? Before they even land the first client. It's actually crazy, right? And it comes down to one thing, which is picking the right market, right? So before you actually click off this video and you're like, oh, I already have the right market, or oh, I already know how to do that. I promise you that I'm going to tell you some things that you have not heard before, right? So these are some things that are unique, you haven't heard before, and I'm going to give you different perspectives. So, I'm going to walk you through my framework of how to make the right decision when it comes to picking your market. And I'm going to share what we've learned at Zeta Media, right? So practical real life examples, not theory. So we're going to get started with the principles really, and like what are the practical things that you need to understand. So there's really like 4 things, as you can see right here on the screen. So number 1, findability. And findability really comes down to actually 2 words that are going to decide everything more so than 3. So let's get started with that. What the heck does findability mean? So findability boils down to, well, there's 2 things, right? I've modified it a little bit. You're going to have to excuse me for this, but it's about 2 words that are so important. So number 1, precision, and number 2, unicorn, right? Which is kind of funny, right? So if you get these 2 words right, then it's going to be fairly simple for you to get clients every single time. So let's start with the first word, which is precision, right? So precision, what does that mean? Well, it basically means that you're not selling to the wrong people, you are in the wrong room. Okay, so let me explain. And I'm going to explain this with an analogy. So let's just say that you want to sell shark meat, right? Like you want to sell shark meat, you have the best shark meat in town. And let's just say that you want to sell shark meat, right? You live in New York. So you're going to go to Times Square because you're saying like, oh, there are a lot of people in there. So I'm definitely going to sell my shark meat. And you ask hundreds of people if they want to buy it. But the problem is, you're over there in your Times Square with your shark meat. 4 hours later, nobody's bought anything. And once again, it's not because you have a bad product, because at the end of the day, with this analogy, you have the best shark meat in town. So it's not, once again, it's not that you have a bad product, but it's that you are in the wrong room. So you should not be trying to sell your shark meat in New York Times Square. Now, what do you do in the second day, right? When you realize, well, I guess being in New York Times Square is not the right strategy, right? For me to sell the shark meat, the fish meat. So let's just say that you take the same product, same price, same use, same everything, and then you go to the fish market, right? And let's say that you want to sell this in the shark meat section. So you go right to the right place, right? Obviously, because you probably have the best product, like I said, you're going to have dozens of buyers, right? So instant interest, people are looking for that, and they're going to want to sell. They're going to want to buy. So you basically sell out before lunch. So What has changed? Well, obviously the location has changed, but more so than that, the precision has changed. So, where does that precision come from, right? Because here's the thing, right? And you're probably going to resonate with this. The phrase that I hear the most often from online coaching consultants is, how do I find my right people, right? The right people. They keep telling me, like, I cannot find the right people for my offer. I cannot find the people who are a good fit for my offer. Well, while that is true, what you have to understand is that it's not necessarily the fact that you cannot find the right people, but it is about your offer. The way you structure your offer doesn't allow you to find the right people. So a lot of people think about, like, well, I want to find clients, right? I want to get my offer in front of the right people, and they think like, oh, it's all about targeting. It's all about finding the right people, but it's not really like that. No, it's about having the right offer that's going to allow you to find the right people. So it all comes from the way your offer is structured. It comes down from how do you articulate the problem that you solve and how specific is the promise that you make. So I'm going to give you some examples right here. But the perfect way to describe this, and I see it, by the way, with every single coaching consultant out there, is with one simple word, is the unicorn, right? So you have defined, right, and this is what classic marketing has probably taught you to do, is you define your ideal client in a way that looks smart on paper, but in reality is actually impossible to find. Okay, so let me say it again. Like, the way you're defining your ideal client is kind of like looking for a unicorn that is pretty much impossible to find. So it sounds good on paper. You have all of your qualification, like what you're looking for in an ideal client on paper, but that is the exact thing that is making it super hard for you to actually find your ideal client. So I'm going to give you a real life example because, like I said, this is something that we extracted from real life. This is not theory. I did not read this from a book. It comes from real life experience by being in the trenches, working with coaches and consultants. So this is from a real client, right? So I had a client and she wanted to target, so hear me out, right? So she wanted to target women with ADHD, so women who had ADHD, but women who were also adopted. So by the way, all of these things at the same time. So women with ADHD who were adopted, but who also work a corporate job. So all of these three things at the same time: ADHD, were adopted, and work a corporate job. All of these three things at the same time. Now, if you look at this description, at this list, this box right here, you would be like, well, this is great. This is probably what she was looking for, an ideal client. So that was probably her ideal client because it resonates with her because, right, that's where her expertise lies. And you're like, amazing. Wow, she's going to have a great business. Well, it's a simple question that you have to ask yourself, right? It sounds specific, it sounds smart, it sounds well defined on paper, but let me ask you this: how do you find them at scale, right? How do you find these ideal clients online? And if we look at all of these three things, well, if you really think about it, it almost becomes like impossible to find these clients online, right? You're like, well, okay, great. How are we actually going to find women who were adopted? This in itself, like, is probably like the most difficult one. But also on top of that, have ADHD and work a corporate job. So, like, it's impossible, right? There's no platform, there's no filter, there's no way to overlap all of these three characteristics. And even like the adopted one, it is almost like impossible to consistently find clients for that offer online, right? It's just very difficult. So in that example, right, my client was actually looking for a unicorn client, right? So, because once again, everything sounds good on paper, like, oh my gosh, it's so well defined, it's so specific. But in reality, when rubber hits the road, how on earth are you going to find ideal clients for that offer? How are you going to find people for that offer? So, I want you to write this down. This is a principle, right? I'm going to give credit where it's due. So, I learned this from Russell Brunson in one of his books, right? But obviously, like, this is a principle that I've learned myself from real life experience. But the thing is, right, a very simple quote that is so powerful, especially when you understand it: your ideal client is a location, it is not a person, right? So I'm going to say it again: your ideal client is a location, it is not a person, right? So this is going to change everything. So I'm just going to give you the two examples, right? So you really get the point. But a person, right, is, which is the wrong way of trying to define your ideal clients. A person has emotional traits, has a personality profile, has a mindset, a life story, and a past experience, right? So there's the wrong way to try to look for your ideal clients because it is impossible to find online. Like, who online is going to put on their LinkedIn profile their emotional traits, their personality profile, their mindset, their life story, and the past experience. Now, they might be posting things where you could kind of extract, like, okay, well, probably this person deals with XYZ or whatever. This is what probably this person looks like. But it just makes it impossible for you to be able to find people online interested in this consistently. Now, on the flip side, let me give you the right example, which is a location, right? So, location means a job title, an industry, a company size, a specific forum or a community, a named platform, right? So, let me dive deeper into each of these examples because, once again, this is the most important decision. And just to kind of time out here for a second to explain why picking the right market is a decision is the most important decision that you can make for your business. Well, it is the most important decision that you can pick for your business because it's going to impact every single variable of your business, right? So let me give you an analogy, right? What is maybe one of the most important variables that are going to decide your life? Well, it's probably going to be the environment. But if we look at it even more specific, it's probably going to be the country really and the city where you're from. Because let's just be real, like where you are from or where you're whatever living right now, the city and the country, like they are going to impact your whole life, right? So, like a crazy example, but let's just say that you are in a remote village in Africa, right, in Central Africa or something like that, like a really tough city, and compare that one person with someone who was born and raised and is living in, I don't know, like Miami, right? So the person who lives in Miami versus the person who lives in a remote village in Africa with no electricity, right? No water and anything like that, their lives are going to be completely different, like totally completely different, right? And basically, the reason why they're different mostly has to do with their environment and the fact that they were born in different cities in different countries, which are totally different. And it's going to be the same in business. Picking your ideal client and really the market that you're going after is one of those variables that is going to impact every single variable in your business, right? It's one of those like key factors that are going to impact, once again, every single variable of your business. So I hope that you see with that analogy, why is it so important that you actually make the right decision when you're picking the right market? But once again, let's dive deeper. So if we look at defining your ideal client as a person based on emotional characteristics and traits, let's just say that they say this. Okay, well, look, my ideal client is someone who, talking about emotional trait, someone who is has a lot of empathy, right? I work with people who have a lot of empathy, and I work with people who personality profile. They're very ambitious. Okay, great. They're very ambitious. Mindset. They have a growth mindset, right? They always want to invest in themselves. They always want to be, I don't know, the best of the best, right? Life story. Maybe let's just say that in the past they haven't had like the best childhood, right? They didn't have all the resources they wanted. They had a lot of things that were missing, and that created later down the line, that created a lot of ambition in them, right? If you define your ideal client like this, once again, the question is how on earth are you going to be able to find them? Right. But on the flip side, let me give you examples of location, which is the right way to define your ideal client. So, job title, right? Like maybe you want to target CEOs of tech companies, industry. Maybe you want to work with real estate agents. That is simple. That is easy to find online. Company size, once again, it can be whatever you want to be, or a specific forum or a community. Let's say that you're a coach and you help women dealing with Hashimoto's disease. So therefore, if you want to find clients for your market, it's going to be fairly simple because you just have to look for forums and communities where you're going to be able to find women with Hashimoto's disease, right? The platform, LinkedIn or Facebook or maybe Instagram or maybe whatever the case is. But as you can see, when you define your ideal client as a location, is going to be a lot simpler to find your ideal clients or prospects online. And here's the rule of thumb. If you cannot find them, you cannot sell to them, you cannot help them. So obviously I'm talking about your ideal clients. This is why this is so important, right? So this is pretty much right. This is the point. If you cannot find them, you cannot target them, you cannot sell them, you cannot help them, and you in your business cannot make money. So I hope you see kind of the link in here. Now, I want to address something which you're probably thinking about this, or maybe you're not, but I do hear a lot of people kind of thinking about this. They're thinking that they don't want to be specific, right? They don't want to niche down because they think like either, oh well, if I'm going to be too specific, I'm going to get less clients because there aren't as many people in that specific market. Or maybe they're going to think like, well, yeah, but I'm specific, but I can solve a bunch of different problems for my clients, right? Which is a big mistake. So I'm going to give you a very simple example of why you can have the same skill, but depending on how specific you are, it's going to make a huge difference, right? So level one, let's just say that, right, you just sell basic content about time management. Well, obviously, people can watch free content on time management. Like they can just go on YouTube, they can type in, right, time management, and they're going to find a bunch of videos in there. Job done, super simple, time management, really, really easy to compete with, really easy to find online for free. Now, if we go to level two, right, if you have like a generic Udemy course about time management, right? Maybe it's a bit more complex, right? Maybe you could charge 79 bucks for it, right? And people are going to want to buy it, but it's nothing too crazy, right? So 79 bucks, nothing too crazy. And if we go to level three, right, let's just say that you sell a time management course for busy people, right? Well, if you're going to sell time management course for busy people, right, it's a bit more specific. Maybe you could charge 240, right, because it's specific to busy people, right? 240 bucks or something like that. Maybe people are going to buy it. If we go to level four, right, let's just say that you sell a time management for remote professionals, right? So someone who works remotely, well, maybe that's something else because it's specific to their situation, like, right, because they work remote, maybe they have like certain things that they're going to have to do different compared to someone, right, who works in person. So maybe you can charge 500 bucks for that, something like that. But if we go to the next level, and I'm going to take a sip of water. But if we go to the next level, level five, let's just say that you package it even differently. So it's going to be like a time management for online business owners, right? It can even be as specific as like time management program for online coaching and consultants that is actually going to help them 2x their revenue in 5 months, right? So obviously we also have a specific promise, but it would be like people would be happy to pay you $7,500 for a program like this, right? Why? Because we have a specific promise because of the positioning, but because of the specificity, right? So it's like you could just do the math and you can compare, right? But obviously, like if you get the same number of clients that you would get at level five compared to level three, it's a massive difference in your business. And all of it comes from specificity because maybe you even have the same core skill. But depending on how specific you are and how clearly you define your ideal client, that's going to have a huge impact on your business and how much you can charge. And obviously, there are hundreds of examples, to kind of illustrate like how important specificity is. Like, for example, like a family doctor versus like a, heart surgeon or whatever the case is, right? Non-specific versus specific. Who earns more, the family doctor, right, or the heart surgeon, right? Now, so we talked about the niching trap, right? So the point of being specific with your ideal client and kind of like the point of niching down is really twofold. So number one, pricing power. It actually allows you to charge way more when you're hyper specific and when you're different, right? Compared to if you sell something that's like kind of broad, kind of generic, right? You're not going to be able to charge as much. So number one is pricing power. It allows you to charge more for your services. But secondly, which is way more important than the pricing power, is resonance. So what does that mean? Well, people, right, especially in a crowded market, right, like we have today, right? So obviously we're in a very crowded market. There are a bunch of offers out there, a bunch of people selling their offers, selling a lot of stuff. So, you have a lot of competitors, right? And people, because they're getting bombarded with advertising, they're always looking for that thing that is the right thing for them. And they're looking for that thing that speaks directly to them. And that is what I like to call resonance, because someone is not going to take any action step and is definitely not going to buy anything unless they feel like it was specifically made for them, right? So for example, if I have a coaching program where I say like, well, I help busy professionals to lose weight, and let's say that I'm an entrepreneur, well, I'm probably not gonna necessarily buy that program because in my mind I'm gonna be thinking, well, okay, this is a weight loss program for professionals, but professionals have more time than me, so therefore this program is not the right thing for me because professionals have a lot of time, I don't have a lot of time, and so this program is not for me. So you see how by lacking specificity, Like people are not even going to be interested in your offer unless they feel like your offer was made for them, unless they resonate with your offer. So I hope you can see by all of these examples why resonance is so important. And obviously, like having a super specific client, a super well defined specific market, like these are the most important things, because like otherwise you're just going to have a hard time, right? Now let's talk about the second word that it's so important, which really comes down to pain. Okay. So the simple question is your market starving, right? The market that you want to go after, or are they just curious, right? Or kind of interested, right? Because that's a huge difference. And I want to bring up like a legend, an absolute legend, right? Gary Halbert, considered one of the best copywriters of all time, one of the most successful copywriters of all time, highest earning copywriters. So a complete legend. But Halbert, like he said this, right? So if you could have one advantage in launching a new business, right? So either the best product or the best copy or the best price or the best market, which one would you pick, right? Which one would you pick? And his answer was a starving crowd. And obviously that refers to your ideal client. Obviously that refers to your market. That is hands down the most important thing. So I'm gonna give you some simple kind of like ways to think about this. So Halbert, the way he defines like a starving crowd is something that's based on like a human need that's never gonna like go away, right? It's not based on the trends or the ups and downs in the market and stuff like that. Like it's based on something that's always going to be there. It's a desire that's always going to be there. So the main three categories or buckets, if you will, right, where humans are always going to have desires is health, right? So they want to feel good about how they look, right? They want to be healthier. They don't want to be sick. So health. Obviously, we have wealth as well. Like they want to make more money. They want to be successful, whatever the case is. In relationships, right, where obviously they want to attract the opposite sex, right, or whatever the case is, right? They want to attract someone in their life. So health, wealth, and relationships. You've probably heard of these buckets. Now, I want to add a caveat here. If you're a coach and you're like, well, I don't really know if I fall into any of these buckets, that is completely fine. It doesn't mean that your business is not going to work unless you're a health or wealth or relationship coach, right? That's not the case. But you have to look at this from the perspective of like you're either in one of these three buckets, so you know that you're selling something that like people desperately want, right? Or the kind of like the other angle to look at this is based on human needs, right? So obviously, according to Tony Robbins, you should know about this, but like the basic human needs, right? So it's kind of like significance, right? Contribution, love, relationships, connection, right? Certainty and all those things, right? So I probably butchered them a little bit, but according to Tony Robbins, there are like about 6 human needs, like deep desires, like human needs. So you have to look at your offer and you have to make the connection. Well, what is the deep human need that you help your clients fulfill, right? Is it significance? Is it like you help them get like a higher paying job, or you help them with something that has to do with their status, maybe? Right? So significance, for example, certainty, right? Certainty could be like you're a business coach, you help them get more clients consistently. That produces certainty, right? Could be contribution, right? Like for example, you show them like I don't know, like maybe you're kind of like a nonprofit, right, leadership coach, right? Like you help like leaders in nonprofit sector to lead their teams better, right? So obviously for them, this probably helps them get more contribution, right? Or it could be like whatever the case is, like love and connection, right? Like for example, this kind of falls into the relationships bucket. For example, like you maybe help men to save their marriage, which is going to lead to them having more love and connection, right? So as you can see, it doesn't necessarily have to be like a classic health coach or wealth or relationships coach. Like no, like you have to think about like based on your offer, right? What is the core human desire? What is the core human need that you help your clients achieve? And if you cannot find one, like you better be thinking about it pretty good, because if you really think about it and you really like you cannot put your finger on what is the core human need that people want, that your clients want, that you would supposedly solve with your offer, then you're going to be in trouble, because it means that you're probably selling, you're kind of going back. It means that you're selling an offer with, you're kind of selling an offer to someone who's just curious but not starving, right? Which is going to be really hard to do. So, once, I'm going to give an example here, right? For like kind of kind of not necessarily having an offer that like people are starving for, but trying to sell an offer that's something that makes people curious, right? So I had a coach, right? He was a wellness coach. And he initially wanted to go after tech professionals, like, salespeople in tech, and just kind of help them, it was basically something that has to do with their career, to, help them feel more aligned in their career, right? So a bit vague, but he was kind of helping like tech pros in the sales sector to kind of feel more fulfilled about their career, something like that. Now, if we look at that offer and also at that market, on paper, it was good because it was a specific job title. Obviously, tech sales pros, like, they have high income, they're easy to find on LinkedIn. And if you were to think like, well, that's a great market, right? Like sales professionals in tech. But what was the problem? And this is the reason why, if you are able to find your ideal clients online, that's not enough, right? You also need to solve a big problem. But what was the reality, right? So, like, in 6 months of outreach, right, before he came to us, he did 6 months of outreach, zero clients, right? Because the simple thing, tech pros who are making 180K per year are not starving. They're actually quite comfortable, right, with their role. So he was basically trying to help tech pros to feel more aligned in their career. And it was kind of also like, mindfulness, well-being, and stuff like that, because it was a quite stressful job, but they were not really starving for an offer like this. They were actually quite comfortable because they were making a lot of money, and they could take the weekend off, just go away, right? Have a few drinks, buy some nice things, and then come back home and start the week again. And nothing else is bothering them, right? Once again. So it kind of comes down to another marketing principle, right? That is so timeless. You cannot create desire, you can only channel it. So, like, for example, right, if I have, like, I don't know, like a sibling or something like that, and they don't want to start the business, they don't want to be an entrepreneur, they just want to take the safe route, they want to have a job, they want to go to university. Like, if I try to convince my sibling, like, hey, you need to become an entrepreneur, you need to start your own business because of this, because of this, because of that, it's going to be impossible because they don't want it. So if they don't want it, I'm not going to attempt to sell them on the idea of doing something, right? So I'm never going to swim like kind of against the currents. I'm always going to go with the currents, because otherwise it's just going to be like close to impossible, right? So one question to ask yourself, right, is kind of like, you always want to solve a neck bleeding problem. So think about this. If your ideal client goes another 90 days without solving their problem, the problem that you want to help them solve, does their life get materially worse, right? If the answer is not really, then you have a nice to have market, not a good, solid market. And keep in mind, right, not if their life gets materially worse. It's not like a yes or no answer. Is it like, oh, heck yeah, absolutely, it's going to be horrible, or it's going to be like, it's not that bad, right? So if it's not that bad, right, it's going to get bad, but it's not that bad, then once again, it's not the best offer, right, to go after. Now, that's pretty much it. So, kind of to do a recap, right? Like, obviously, findability. You want to be able to find your ideal clients online, and your ideal client is location, right? It's not like a personality stuff, right? About your clients, right? Don't define your clients by saying they're ambitious, they want to invest in themselves, they're this, they're that. Like, no. What problem do they have, right? What type of problem do they have, or what is their title that you can use to find them online, so you can target them, so you can sell to them, right? If you cannot find them, you cannot sell to them. And then the other side is problem, right? Do you solve a painful problem for them? If not, then you are going to have a really hard time, my friend. So let me give you the 4-step checklist that I told you about at the beginning of the video. So, right, very simple. Is your market a location, not a person? In other words, can you easily identify and find your clients online, and can you consistently target them so that you can get on a conversation with them, you can sell to them, right? Obviously, so they can help them. So is your market a location, not a person? Can you actually filter them on LinkedIn or a real platform? It doesn't just have to be LinkedIn, right? It can also be Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever the case is. But can you actually filter them online? Whether you find them in specific groups, whether you find them in specific communities, right? It can be like, for example, on Facebook, specific groups on Facebook, or maybe using specific filters on LinkedIn Sales Navigator, whatever the case is. Like, you need to think about this. Can you actually find them online? And then the next one, are they starving in health, wealth, relationships, or do they have another unfulfilled human need that you can help them with, right? So whether significance, certainty, right, loving connection, contribution, whatever the case is. But do they have an unfulfilled human need that you would help them with based on your offer? And then the last one is if they wait 90 days, does their life get materially worse? Right? So not a little worse, but like horribly worse. So if any of these is a no, if any of these 4 points, then you cannot start yet. You got to fix the market first, right? So that's pretty much it for this cute little presentation that I put together. So a couple things. First of all, I'm going to give you a free checklist, right? I'm going to put it in the description down below. Like you're going to find like a PDF or like a Google document link with like some like literally like a checklist that you can use to attempt to pick the right market. And my offer to you, right, is not a thing to sell, but it's like something that I can propose is if you're an online coach or consultant and you really enjoyed this video, you did find it valuable, you can book a call, right? So this way, right? If you want to get more clients, of course, you can book a call. If you want to grow more, if you want to get more clients, if you want to grow your business, right? Book that call, and we can chat. We can see if we can help you as well. We can explain how our process works because I have a pretty cool offer that is, kind of results based. So I think you're gonna like it. But just click the link in the description down below. You're gonna find a link if you want to book a call with us, so we can see if we can help you grow your business. And smash that like button, smash it, right? So you show me that you like this video, subscribe, and just see you in the next video.